The wind howled across the desolate prairie, carrying with it the smell of dust, gunpowder, and something darker, the kind of sorrow that sticks to a place long after the people are gone. It was high noon in Red Hollow, the kind of town that lived by its own laws, where mercy was a stranger and justice was just another word for revenge. They dragged her out from the sheriff's office like she was nothing more than an animal ready for slaughter. Her wrists were bound in coarse rope, her lips split from a fight she had no chance of winning, and her eyes, those eyes, told a story that no court or preacher could erase. Her name was Clara Vaughn, the outlaw they called the Rose with Thorns. The people said she'd robbed a stagecoach, shot a deputy, maybe even poisoned a cattle baron's well. They didn't talk about how she'd been forced into half the things she'd done. They didn't care. All they wanted was to see her swing. The sheriff was all too happy to oblige. They built the gallows quick, like they'd been waiting for this moment. And that's when he appeared, Elias Boone, a rancher known for keeping to himself, a man with the kind of quiet strength that made enemies think twice. No one knew why he was in town that day. Some said he was just there for supplies. Others swore he'd come for her. Clara's boots scuffed against the dirt as they marched her up to the noose. Her breathing was ragged, but her chin was high. Still, when she caught sight of Elias standing near the edge of the crowd, something flickered in her expression, recognition, maybe hope, maybe regret. The rope hung loose in the hangman's hands as the sheriff spat, "Any last words, Miss Vaughn?" She closed her eyes, the fight finally draining out of her. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking, "just make it quick." The crowd went still. Even the wind seemed to pause. And then, before anyone could move, Elias stepped forward. "She ain't dying today," he said, his voice low but sharp enough to cut the silence. The sheriff scoffed. "You planning to draw on the law, Boone?" Elias didn't answer with words. In one smooth motion, his Colt was out, the hammer cocked, aimed not at the sheriff but at the rope itself. The crowd gasped. The hangman froze. The next moments happened so fast, most folks only remembered flashes, the crack of gunfire splitting the air, the rope snapping clean, Clara dropping to her knees in the dirt, Elias moving like a man possessed, hauling her to her feet. The sheriff went for his gun, but Elias's second shot sent his hat spinning into the dust. "She's coming with me," Elias growled. No one stopped him, maybe out of fear, maybe out of something else they couldn't name. They rode hard out of Red Hollow, Clara slumped against him, too weak to speak but clutching his coat like a lifeline. Miles later, when the town was nothing but a smudge on the horizon, she finally asked, "Why?" Elias didn't look at her. "Because you asked me to make it quick," he said, "and I don't believe in quick endings, not for someone who still has fight left in him." They reached his ranch by nightfall, a quiet place tucked against the foothills, far from prying eyes. He untied her hands, gave her water, and told her she was safe, for now. She stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Safe wasn't a word she'd known in years. Over the next days, she learned the truth. Elias knew her brother once, back before the war, back before everything went bad. He'd promised to look out for her if he ever could. And now, even with half the territory looking to hang her, he intended to keep that promise. Clara wanted to argue, to say she didn't deserve saving. But deep down, a part of her, the part that still remembered the girl she used to be, wanted to believe him. Life on the ranch was slow, but it was life. She learned to work the cattle, to mend fences, to breathe without fear. Yet every night, the memory of the noose haunted her. She'd wake in a cold sweat, whispering the words she thought would be her last, "Please, just make it quick." And each time, Elias would be there, steady as the earth, reminding her she was still here, still breathing, still free. The law didn't forget, though. Weeks later, riders came, bounty hunters with greed in their eyes. Elias stood between them and Clara, and when the dust settled, the hunters were gone, and Clara knew one thing for certain: the man who had defied a town to save her would defy the whole world if he had to. And so, the outlaw and the rancher carved out a life on the edge of the map, two souls bound not by blood or law, but by something stronger, the unshakable truth that every person, no matter their past, deserves a chance to write a different ending. So, if this story moved you, if it made you believe in the kind of courage that stands up to the gallows and says not today, then hit that subscribe button. There are more stories waiting in the dust and the wind, and you don't want to miss a single one.